Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Dude. I love that. I'm Liv, and I'm re-recording this intro because I just found out that I did this whole episode without my freaking microphone being on, and so it's using computer audio for this episode, but I felt like there were really good things that I said that I probably couldn't duplicate if I redid it. So bear with me. Other episodes have better audio if this is like the first one that you're coming across. Hopefully not, but just beware of that and let's hop in. Today, we are doing something that, in my opinion, is timely because school just ended and maybe you're going to college, maybe you're starting a new job, lots of transition happening. And so, one of the number one things that I think every single person struggles with at one time or another is people not liking them. Never fun, but one of my most downloaded episodes is called Not Everyone is Gonna Like Me, and That's Okay. And so I wanted to kind of expand on that and talk about what to do, like actual steps to do when someone doesn't like you. So let's get into it. So, the number one thing that I would say is the hurdle when someone doesn't like you is feeling rejection. You don't really care so much when someone else rejects you, but it's when you take that on and you absorb it and then you turn it on yourself. Does that make sense? So, I would say if you're dealing with rejection being very painful for you and it ends up skewing your sense of yourself, I would really sit down and really look like, is there anything that they said that I need to take to heart? Because look, sometimes we get criticism in the form of rejection and it doesn't always feel good, but maybe they're pointing out something that we actually do need to fix. So let's take that into consideration as well and not just like throw it all out and assume that none of it is worthwhile, but truly sit down and take in the parts of what they said that might be used for improvement. But if everything they said is just out of like jealousy and it's mean and it's junk, then just throw it away. But don't let, sorry, I have a fuzz on my nose if you're watching this. It's bothering me. Don't let their own issues affect the way that you see yourself because if you don't have confidence in yourself and in what you bring to the table, you're always going to let everybody else's opinions skew your day, your sense of yourself, whatever it is. So, first off, deal with that. Second, I think we have a tendency to, when we face hurdles, kind of run backwards and not actually barrel through. And I think that kind of refers to the fight, flight, or freeze stances, like, when you're in danger or perceived danger, you tend to do one of those three things. And a lot of us, in terms of rejection, because it is painful, like we're humans, we we all want to be perceived in the best light. We all want people to like us. That when you do deal with that rejection, it's like extremely painful. Versus if someone's just like, you stole my parking spot, you suck. You're like, okay, yeah, whatever. It's like that audio clip going around where it's like, hey ladies, I hate you. Oh, get in line. It's kind of like that. It's you just don't care. But when it's about you or your character or just your personality in general, we take it so like we absorb all of it. And at the end of the day, you can't really control what they think of you. This is something that Liza actually talked about in a last episode, and she had some amazing tips for this. But coming from someone who is not a type 8 on the Enneagram and is not naturally, what's the best word to describe an 8? Naturally self assured and bold, I can say that the thing for me that I feel like really changed my perception of other people's perception of me. Is that is that tracking? Is that making any sense? Hopefully, but if not, DM me on Instagram. I will clarify, talk through anything. You can find me there at Hey It's Liv James or the podcast at Dude I Love That Podcast. But what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, I had to realize for myself that they're viewing me through like their world lens. And look, sometimes we just don't give off the best first impressions. It just is what it is. But someone that's decent enough should give you a chance to redeem yourself. And I have quotes around that because like you don't have to redeem yourself. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we just mess up and it's like, yeah, that wasn't my best impression, but next time you'll get it. You know what I mean? And so we can't waste time on people that aren't interested in seeing the full picture of who you are and what your personality is like. And then the third thing is look, they might just not work for you and you might not work for them. And it is what it is. If you And I think I've said this before, but if you're going to be everybody's cup of tea, you got problems. You cannot be everyone's cup of tea because then that would mean you're never true to yourself. You're never being who you've been made to be. And that's sad. It's sad because you bring something really cool to the table. You have gifts, talents, and abilities that other people don't have. And for you to shapeshift, I was just watching Sky High, and so I'm thinking of the magenta girl when I say that. But for you to shapeshift for everybody in order to get in their good graces is you not showing up as your true self, not being authentic. And that is a sad situation because you owe yourself the ability to show up as who you really are. And if other people don't want to take it, then that's their problem. And you just move on. Because there's going to be a group that is like, "Ugh, yes, she, he, whatever has like had what we've been missing and we need it. And I want you to have that. You deserve to be around people that see how awesome you are and they're like, oh my gosh, where is so and so been my entire life? And then the fourth thing, if you have gone through several situations, maybe you're in school and so you're like in class trying to make friends that way, or maybe you're in the workforce and you just are like, my coworkers aren't really my vibe, then it's time to get out in places where you're going to meet people who are like minded. So, one of the things that I really struggled with as an adult was I can't just like roll up to gymnastics like I did when I was, 13 and like do an extracurricular and make friends. There are some things that you can do like that. Like I know adults that are in like dodgeball leagues or beach volleyball. So there's things like that, but that's kind of like you either have the skill or you don't. And so then that limits you even more. But there are also things that you can do that are outside of that. Like for instance, I was part of a Facebook group called Cute Conservatives. And if you watch politics or anything like that, you'll know. But there were a ton of subgroups for like different cities. And there was like I think they had one in Charlotte recently. So I used to live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they have a subgroup for people or for girls that live in Charlotte. And so they just had a meetup and they got together with all these people that have the same viewpoints they do, that are into the same things. And so it's like a really niche audience that you're like, okay, we like the same show. We like the same values, whatever. And they were able to meet up and now they're friends. And so it takes a little out of the box thinking, I would say, to find something like that for yourself where you're like, this is my thing. But if you don't have anyone around you, like physically, right, where you can go to make friends, whether it's through a church, through activities, sports, whatever, if you don't have that, I would say start looking online, start finding community online because I mean, hey, that's what everybody was doing in 2020, right? Like, you didn't really have an option in some areas to go out and do things. And so people were making community online. So if that's something that you're struggling with, I would highly suggest looking online. And then lastly, if you aren't being yourself because you feel like there's something wrong with you or you've already rejected yourself, then really work through that. Because I mean, this is going back to what I said originally, but and I'm totally blanking right now. There's a Sleeping with Sirens song that pretty much says that, and I'm completely just having a brain fart. Isn't that the grossest word? Also, it makes me think of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. But it's like you can't expect somebody else to take interest in you and like see your value if you can't even see it. So I would really take time to work on that. And I'm not talking about like self-love and all that other stuff. I'm talking about looking in the mirror and saying, how did God create me? Now I'm coming at it with a Christian view. You may not have that, so you can look at it differently. I'm just telling you, this is what I would do. I would really sit down. This is not standing in the mirror. This is starting to be a different, completely like other idea here, but it's fine. Sit down, write a list of all the things that you have that are unique to you. It doesn't mean that no one else has it. It's just like, what do I think of when I think of myself? Or what have other people pointed out in me as a positive? And then looking at that and saying, you know what? I've got some good stuff going on. I bring a lot of stuff to the table. We need to figure out a different word for that. Like, what other phrase can we use instead of bringing to the table? Because it's like that's been done endlessly. But yeah, looking at that and saying, okay, what's going on here? What do I like? And then even make up a list of like, what don't I like? What are some things I need to improve on? It could be as small as like, I need to hang my clothes up right after I take them off, or I need to work on anger, or whatever it is. But figure out areas that you need to improve on and improve on those, because once those are improved, you can add those to the pros list. And sooner or later, you're going to end up being like, you know what? I've got a lot going on and it's good. And then you become more confident, you become more bold. And even to add to that, from a Christian perspective at least, sit there and ask God, how do you see me? Because I'm not seeing myself that way right now and I want to. That is going to change things for you because he made you and he knows all the things that maybe even you're overlooking about yourself. So asking him, how do you see me? And being willing to take that and not just be like, okay, thanks, Lord, and move on, but actually being like, wow, this is amazing, and running with that instead of, I know if you're a six like me, sometimes you hear good things. I struggle with taking a compliment. It's true. And if you're the same way, you can hear those good things about yourself and it kind of feels like in one ear, out the other. Because there's something about like taking the compliment that's like, no, I don't know. This is weird. And so then you end up missing out on life giving words that someone's speaking over you. And then you walk around and you're like, no one has anything good to say about me, or like no one, no one pointed out this. Not that you're like going around looking for compliments 24/7, but when you're having down days, you kind of start to look at that and you're like, this isn't great. But are you taking compliments? Are you letting that sink in? Are you asking the Lord, how do you see me? And then he's telling you and you're just like brushing it off, right? These are things to look at. And so this is a really short episode, but I just wanted to put that out there because if you're struggling with that, especially as you transition into a new season of life, I want you to feel like I have something in my tool belt that I can pull and use when I need it, because nothing is worse. Again, being a six, nothing's worse than being unprepared and feeling like I needed this and now I don't have it. So, anyways, I really hope that this episode blessed you, and I can't wait to see what you do with these tools in your belt in the coming months. It's going to be so amazing, and I want to hear about it. So, be sure and DM me on Instagram. And don't forget, if you have not taken the Enneagram test and you're like, what is she talking about with types? What's going on? Definitely check it out. The one that I like is on Truity, but you can also go to my website. I talk more about Enneagram stuff over there. It's livejamescoaching.com, but I also talk about it all the time on Instagram. So if you ever want a link to the test that I like, I actually have three that I kind of go in between depending on like what someone's looking for. But if you want a link to the test, be sure and DM me. Remember, new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, so be sure and check back on Tuesday. We're kicking off the career series again with part 3. Thank you so much for watching or listening. By the way, you can watch on YouTube or Spotify and listen everywhere else. But thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.